Hi, welcome to the Liverpool Community Podcast. I'm your host, Chase Johnson Lynch, here in the Big Condo Studios. And I'm thrilled today, with our guests because, we usually do these show notes before the show starts. And we have a kind of go into a little mind map of what we're going to talk about. But then we had this huge digression where we went into the whole love of film, and now it's 3 hours later, and we're about to start the podcast.
More like 3 days later.
So either way you look at it, I'm still excited to be here. And I'm joined by Care Merseyside, its chief executive, Kathy Connolly, and their partnership lead, and Brittany O'Mahony. Brittany O'Mahony.
Yes, you got it right.
You know what I'm saying, Brittany? It's like O'Mahony. It was like that's an interesting kind of name there because I think Kathy was telling me it was Irish, but
Yeah, so it definitely originates from Ireland.
Does
I
it?
don't know what part. I need to get on Ancestry.com, which Kathy keeps banging on about.
Yeah.
Well, I can just probably fill you in a little bit. In Liverpool, they say O'Mahony or O'Mahony,
O'Mahony.
but the Irish would say O'Mahony.
Right.
Just a difference. Something happened when we got off the boat with our pronunciation a couple of 100 years ago. So Mahon, the name Mahon became Mon, and maybe Brittany's name O'Mahony, as she says it. We would probably say O'Mahony.
Well, both me and you have something else in common that we've both been here for about 21 years.
Yeah.
And we still got our accents.
Still got the
so
accents.
people still think you just got off a boat or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you don't sound like
Straight
a
off the
Scouser.
boat to Birkenhead to Belfast. No, I am. I think again, Brittany was just mentioning it. She's from Liverpool. I'm from Belfast. You're from New York.
Yeah.
If you, your identity is very important, and how you speak is part of your identity. And if you embrace your identity and you have ownership of who you are as a person, you won't lose that. And so my accent's very important to me because it represents.
Exactly. Why should I lose it?
Yeah.
Exactly, and it also is part of my huge difference. Especially when I go into schools, we also talked about both being teachers
Yeah.
and everything. And I'm like a man of walking diversity. I go into a school. You know what I mean? I'm a big Black American guy, and all the kids go like that. You know what I mean? So it's so good. Not to leave Phil out. He's from Birmingham. But hey, whatever. I
It's
just thought I
battle
would
of the
say it.
accents.
But
with
not
Liverpool,
Birmingham,
Liverpool
Alabama.
and Birmingham.
Yeah, not Birmingham, Alabama, no. Yeah, right. So anyway, let's talk about this third sector organization that you guys Kathy, you didn't set up Care Merseyside, did you, or did
No.
you? Right. So why don't you tell us about Care Merseyside? We know that we don't know, but it's a social prescribing charity. But tell us why it came about.
So our charity was actually set up by a doctor called Dr. Faisal Mazarani, and he is a GP in Knowsley. His father was actually a GP before him, and he served for 40 years in the Knowsley community. Dr. Mazarani's father, Hassan, is from Syria. And Dr. Faisal, was born in Kirby, where his father had his practice, and his mother was also Irish. So there's a commonality in, kinship there, because when Dr. Mazarani met me, he thought, oh, I can identify with you because I'm half Irish too. And
I thought it was because you remind me of my mom.
Yeah, well, he said that. My mother's Irish, and that was we automatically got along. But he set the charity up in honour of his father, but also to help the patient population within the Kirby and Greater Knowsley area, because he, saw this need that beyond a 10-minute GP consultation, you can really resolve a lot of problems that the patients were coming to the GP to discuss. And a lot of them weren't medical conditions or health conditions. There were more mental health conditions and life issues, such as welfare needs, being in debt, facing homelessness and unemployment. And social prescribing is seen as an alternative to, or in, also in conjunction with, if needed, medication. And what social prescribing is rather than prescribing medication, if avoidable to a patient, is to prescribe activity to help a person look after their health and well-being, to
You
make
were
them
saying
feel
it's more
empowered.
like physical and creative activity.
Yeah. So it can be broken down to, a few things. So physical activity, diet and nutrition, creative activities, holistic activities, and tools with managing stress, anxiety, and things that people often present at the doctor with, where they need to kind of understand how to get to the root of what their problem is and how to solve that problem.
Such as like, as you say, you also take a hard look into poverty and food as well.
Yeah. When we were organising the structure and the infrastructure of our organisation, you know, if someone turns up to a doctor and the doctor said, well, I'm just going to prescribe you yoga for the day, and they were literally not in a position to financially or, you know, even within themselves at a mental point in their lives to start taking on some holistic activity, thinking that it would do them good. We looked at Maslow's hierarchy of needs because we wanted to understand, you know, if our ultimate aim is to help people self-actualize. Maslow invented a pyramid, and at the top of that pyramid was the goal of self-actualization. And to get to that point, a person needs to, like, obviously get through a few steps in life. They need to have the basic needs met, such as food and shelter. They need to have their relationships met, such as, you know, personal relationships, family relationships. They need to feel purpose in their life, having jobs, employment. And then, you know, you move forward up into those more spiritual, philosophical needs that the human mind then can contend with. And so therefore, there was no point in us saying, yeah, would you want to do yoga if, you know, you're facing crisis? So a lot of our delivery and our service meets all of those needs, from the very bottom to debt management to food crisis, right through to more holistic activities, where if a person is in a position to want, for example, to do yoga, then all of the other needs will have been met before suggesting something more holistic. But not everybody comes in crisis. Some people come and they're lonely and they're isolated socially. And so really we would suggest certain activities that we either provide ourselves, or we've got partners that would provide, you know, and signpost people either to those interventions or activities, or we'll provide them and invite them to attend our own activities.
Yeah, so I mean, like, basically, it just sounds fantastic, but, you know, this wasn't around before you started this, right? You know, I mean, this started like around 2017.
Yeah.
But basically, what you were a part of that first initial, I guess, wave where they decided that they wanted to pilot this program and set it up,
Yeah.
right? So can you talk a little bit more about how the doctor set it up in this, you found a redundant community center?
Yeah. So basically, Dr. Maserani has a few practices right across the borough of Knowsley. And next to one of his main practices, Dr. Maserani and Partners, there was a community centre, Tower Hill Community Centre, in a massive new building that was built during the Labour government. It was a PFI building. I don't know if you are familiar with PFIs, but basically it's a private finance initiative. And a lot of schools you'll see in the Liverpool area are PFIs, and a lot of health centres are PFIs. But there was a community centre built as part of a PFI, and it was underutilised, almost redundant at the time. And Dr. Maserani made contact with local Knowsley Council and asked could he rent the premises for a couple of hours a day, and just basically said, let's put some activities on there for the patient population. And so that's what we decided to do. We engaged in a contract, an SLA with the local council, and we started putting activities on. I'm an ex-English teacher, and one of the initial things we did was we started a creative writing class. We started walking groups. We had a partnership with the local food bank. Within the first 12 months, we had a food club put in there, where every Tuesday now people can come and get food for a really low cost. It's a step up from food bank because we want to encourage independence and move away from food bank reliance, and more to do with budget and stuff like that.
Right.
But at the minute, during the cost of living crisis, we're giving food out for free because the council are funding us to do so. And basically, we have, you know, partnerships with dancing groups and knitting groups, and, you know, there was history groups there. We've
So
got
you have
drama
like a
groups,
whole, like a
whole
list
host
of
things
activities.
that people can join in on.
And I'm sure this is where Brittany comes in,
on,
because
Brittany.
you're like the lead link worker.
Yeah, so I was actually employed originally with another young lad called Shane, so it was just the two of us and
But
Kathy.
you started out as a volunteer.
Well, so I was employed on an ILM placement, so it was like
A 6-month training
Yeah.
placement where she was paid under European funding at that particular time. Brexit hadn't happened yet. And
What about Brexit?
we trained
Yeah,
Brittany.
but it was only a 6-month thing, and at the end of it, you know, the charity still didn't have a lot of funding. But I was still acting as a link worker, still making calls to Kirby-based people, offering them all this range of activity, floristry, makeup courses. We had loads going on, didn't we? Drumming. So I was just making them connections, and it literally was just for Dr. Maserani's practice at that time.
Did you have any baking going on?
At this point, no, because I hadn't even discovered that love at this time.
Brittany has not discovered herself as of yet, but we will get to that in the next part of this program.
Flossy cakes hadn't been conceived.
No, but
Hey, don't bring up the future.
But I think as part of, you know, being a part of Care Merseyside, I think it has allowed me to explore who I am as a person, because I'm seeing people explore themselves on a daily basis, and now I do have my own
Did you
baking.
leave and come back?
Yes, so I actually
So let's get to this, because this is
Yeah.
like one of my favorite part of the stories. You know, I remember I read the novel before the show started. Brittany went off to Dubai, didn't you?
yeah, so I was in Dubai just before I joined Care Merseyside, so I did event management over there, so I was running like pool parties, brunches.
In the underwater hotel, right?
Yeah, oh gosh, in all kinds of amazing hotels, and I spent a year there. It was fantastic. I was fresh out of uni at that time, so I'd studied event management. That's what I thought I'd wanted to do. But I come home and I'd just kind of had a total 360 on my career. But yeah, so then
And
I
you knew
ended up.
this is where you wanted to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love Liverpool. I think I discovered when I was over in Dubai how much of a home bird I was. I was quite shocked at how much I missed home. So then Care Merseyside happened, and then I actually moved over to the NHS for 2 years as a comms lead, which I did enjoy, but I've got to say, I missed Kathy.
At that
Who
time,
doesn't miss Kathy?
Yeah.
At that time, whenever Brittany was on her 6-month contract, we hadn't got funding. You know, we were kind of at the organic stages of our growth and development. So actually, Dr. Maserani and partners knew how good Brittany was, and they employed her because we didn't have the funding to employ her. Then I got it Reaching Communities 3-year funding from the National Lottery, and then
Oh, Reaching Communities. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard of that one. That's a good one. 3 years. Yeah. To achieve sustainability. Nice one.
yes, and throughout that period, we have achieved sustainability because then the NHS decided to fund social prescribing, and as a result of that, we were able to be subcontracted by the PCN in Knowsley, West Knowsley PCN, where we were able to hire 3 more link workers, 2 health coaches. We've just been granted another 3 years continuation funding by the National Lottery
Well done there.
because
it's
we
not
did so
easy.
well.
Yeah.
We did good.
We
You
did.
did so well. Yeah, no, so let me just get this straight. 2017, we're in 23 now. So have you surpassed your 5 years yet, or are you coming up to your 5
Yeah,
years?
come up to 5 years myself working for the organisation and driving the charity forward, creating the infrastructure, staff and structure, partnerships, things like that. Now other people can, take the lead on that. That's what. Hence
Notice how
Brittany's
she doesn't like to
partnership
take
manager.
credit for herself. You know what I mean? I mean, somebody has to drive the bus.
Yeah,
And Kathy drove it for many, many years, and it's amazing to see how far she's come, and the team has come as well, and we all love each other, don't we? We're such a tight-knit group of
So
individuals.
you love there, Kathy. But let's talk about some of the awards that Care Merseyside have received and everything. And what kind of awards? Because you used the word plural on me, and I figured I'll wait to the interview to ask you. So now this is my first time hearing it. What kind of awards were you?
So in 2018, we were nominated I was nominated personally for the Forward Ladies Award.
What?
It was an organisation called Forward Ladies. So it was a national award for women in business, and I was nominated under the not-for-profit category. I won the regional award in Manchester, and that included, I think, the Northwest, the Isle of Man, Scotland, and Ireland. And then the whole national award final was announced in Leeds in the December 2018, and I won the national category as well for not-for-profit. And that was all
Amazing.
basically just explaining what our model was in social prescribing.
I'm not jealous. I don't receive rewards,
Yeah.
but I don't need them.
Do you know what?
The
Listen
plastic
to
or the
this.
glass.
I have to say this about awards, and I'm very, very serious. We don't enter that many. We haven't got the time, and we don't go chasing for them either.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
you're not that type of person anyway.
And then we were finalists in the National Diversity Awards last year, the ITV National Diversity Awards. So,
I'm only gonna just stop for a second and say, when I'm recording, I hear thump, 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 thump. Come on, bro. All right, I'm recording again.
and we didn't win that award, but we were very glad to be, what's the word?
Nominated.
Yeah, nominated and shortlisted, and we
Yeah.
went to a big
Oh,
party.
so not every award you were nominated for, you won.
No.
Okay, that's nice.
Sometimes it's good to, be humble.
Yeah, sure. So let's talk about these referrals because, when we had first contacted you, you said, oh, yeah, I know these numbers. Because at first you were talking about 100,000 referrals. Something
Yeah.
like that.
No. Yeah.
I know. I know. You were talking about, oh, yeah. But then it actually comes down to, what is it, 1,235 referrals?
That's just
and
this
that's
year.
That's just this year.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're not interrupting me. I'm jealous. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not. I'm well. It seems that this is just fantastic what you guys are doing, though, for people, because I'm pretty sure, like, when I was asking you about, do you have any examples of lives that you changed? That I got 1 million in them and everything. But there was one in particular that I thought was really fascinating. Was a drama group set up by two women called Dramatic Recovery. Tell us that story because it's fantastic.
And do you know what? Maybe you can come and have them interview, themselves next time round. But I will tell you.
You are very welcome to come
Yeah.
and join us here in the
They
studio,
also-
Dramatic Recovery.
So a few years ago, obviously, again, regarding partnerships, we can't deliver everything, and we want as many organisations as possible who provide any type of intervention into helping people with their health and well-being to come and work for us, because we've got the people and we can guide them, the traffic, in that direction. And there's a lot of small organisations who do deliver activities, and they need people. They've been funded and they need people. When you said about 100,000, I'm just going to clarify that. We're connected to 13 different GP practices across the borough of Knowsley, and their patient population in total is around 100,000 people. When we initially got our lottery funding 3 years ago, we said that we would hope for 1,000 referrals a year. And 3 years are up now, and we've had almost 5,000 referrals. That's taken a long time because obviously we've had to embed different GP practices in, show them how they use our infrastructure. We use a platform called Elemental Software, and it's connected to the GP system, EMIS, and referrals are made directly to us via that platform. But I can elaborate on that in a minute. Getting back to Dramatic Recovery, they were working with a group of our client population who have been referred to us for numerous reasons, social isolation, they were bereaved. And the girls had a partnership organisation, a theatre company they were working with called Ugly Bucket. Ugly Bucket Theatre had
Ugly
been...
Bucket Theory.
Yeah.
I just love the names that people come up with.
And they're
sometimes.
amazing, by the way. So Ugly Bucket Theatre had been commissioned to do a play on grief, a piece of verbatim theatre. And they needed the stories of people who had been bereaved so that they could use their voices, use their stories to turn it into a play on basically clowning on that theme. And verbatim theatre means that you hear the voices of those stories on stage and they're acted out by actors. And it's an amazing kind of revolutionary way that these guys did it. At the time,
What do you mean they're separate? The actor is separate from the voice.
the actor's separate from the voice.
Wow.
Yeah. So the voices are being used, and the actors then
Or
demonstrate the story of the
yeah.
voice.
Nice.
So our drama group volunteered to share their stories with the theatre group, and then the production was inspired by the stories. So the production comes as a result of the actual stories. The BBC were following it at the time. They made a documentary on it. The people who were involved, our drama group, not only were they turning up and doing drama and, being social every Friday, but then they had a platform where they could then see that their voices were being heard through the theatre company. They went and saw the performances. And then the theatre company, Ugly Bucket, amazingly, that production, Good Grief it's called, was nominated at the Edinburgh Fringe for, well, I think it won in the Edinburgh Fringe for award. Their production actually turned into a graphic novel. They shared our stories and, a recognition of our clients within the credits of the novel. Just as you were talking about credits in film at the time, everybody plays a part in something and making something. And so that was so, like,
And let's not even like the last said, if it doesn't mean anything, it was also performed at the Unity Theater.
yeah, it was performed
And
at
stuff
Unity
like
Theatre.
that, which is the
And then
local
it was,
theater.
and then it went on tour.
So did the people that were involved in creating it, did they go see it
Oh
at the Unity?
yeah, and the BBC were there filming all of that, watching their reactions to what it looked like and stuff like that.
Let's pause for a second. Can you just imagine that? Maybe you might know a little bit about it, Brittany. It's like, what were some of the responses from these people who were dealing with grief? They come to a creative writing group. They're only just kind of like inspired to maybe write some words, to share some stories, more to relate to one another and stuff like that. But to find out that it could go to such a level, what was some of the responses you may have encountered from
honestly, I think it's just shocking to think that they've been referred by the GP. They probably just thought they were going to be in attendance to a small drama group every week, and that would be that. They'd just be boosting the confidence, the self-esteem. But to see where they have actually took it, they're so proud. And when you speak to them, their lives have changed. Honestly, Robbie has come from being really, really depressed, down. He honestly didn't see a way out, and now he's joined this group. He's made these bonds, and the work that he's put out there, discovered the talent, the work he's put out there. Honestly, it's just fantastic. They all can't speak highly enough of us, and also themselves. They've recognised the work that they put in, and
I mean, Kathy, you only shared like a short clip of one of your writers reading one of her poems, and I myself, as a writer, I wouldn't say I'm a poet, but I mean I'm a writer, but I was fascinated by the word choices. It's like when given the opportunity, there's so much that are in our heads. Especially people who are told that they have mental health or well-being issues. There's so many things in our head that, like, that catharsis of writing words down. That must be exciting for you, right?
Yeah, that's the kind of intent of the creative writing group is for cathartic reasons, and we speak about that all the time. No one has to be a great writer, but what they normally discover is that when they dig deep and they start to explore certain themes, certain words, all of this creativity starts to really just spew out of them. And even though it's not therapy, it's not recognized as therapy, writing has therapeutic effects. So the intent of our group is for the therapeutic effects, and any member of our creative writing group will just say exactly that. Not only that, it lights a little flame of creativity and self-awareness that many of the members didn't even realize was there. And then that sense of pride, that sense of purpose, that sense of fulfillment, and ultimately self-actualization. New perceptions on life, new outlook on life, new philosophy on life, just based on shared values or shared conversations that helps people listen to others and to feel heard.
And I think what's important for people to remember here is you're a social prescribing charity, and that is your main ethos is to provide people with activity for life, and to where we're talking about a time period before where they go to their GP and they would get prescribed, antidepressants.
Yeah.
I have a problem. Okay, here,
Yeah.
take us Xanax. But now, by getting them to be a little bit more proactive, as they've done, you also said you're going into a partnership with that new theater in Prescott
Yes, so
because you're liking the work that they're producing.
well, we look at assets around us. One of the most important things is to recognize what we've got out there in the community and to utilize it to the best of our knowledge and our capabilities, and to ensure that the actual community itself is getting the benefit out of the assets that are around them. So we will, walk along the local canals, and we've had partnerships with the Canal and River Trust in doing so that people can appreciate nature and the environment. We will hire space around our local area, and make sure that activities are in there and utilise that. And the Shakespeare North is a new asset to Prescott, it's a new asset to Knowsley. And part of their ethos is to ensure that the community has access to it. So they have open mic sessions going on at the minute, and we've contacted them and asked could our creative writing group use the open mic sessions as a platform to, share their work. But we also want to hire the space. In the summer, we have a plan to have a multifaceted performance where our writers, our singers, and our performers are all given a stage to have an audience to share that work. And we're hopeful that we can hire that space and create that event and, invite as many people as possible to, celebrate everything that people who participate in social prescribing has done and the impact that it's had on them.
Well, with the development of life skills, people probably get more and more confident, and everything else like that. I asked, what about podcasting?
Well, this conversation has come up earlier, and really what I think this space is amazing for is to get our writers down here, either to record a session where we're talking about the process of writing and where the content comes from and how that content comes about, and then giving them that kind of showing them the reflection.
Yeah.
And that's made, but also again it's a celebration of them,
Again,
and
it's
it's a
the power
recognition.
of self-expression.
Yeah.
The power of the voice and all of that. And getting that out there. I mean, it's just fascinating what you guys do, and going from strength to strength. I'm pretty sure. In the meantime, as I had said earlier, being that we're coming to the end of the show, we had to go through, Brittany's life journey. So when she didn't know who she was before, she seems to know now.
Yeah.
All right. So Brittany says, "Hey, I'm a baker." She has her own business.
I do. It's called Flossy Cake. It's my absolute baby. So I actually started it just before lockdown happened, just before the pandemic hit. And it actually couldn't have happened at a better time for my business because people were at home and they weren't able to go to the shops to, buy birthday presents, gifts, those type of things. So I could deliver cakes, contact free.
What kind
at
of
the
cakes? Are we
doorstep.
talking about cupcakes?
Cupcakes, cookies, brownies, anything like that. Yeah.
Birthday cakes.
What do you do,
Yeah,
guys?
she made
Deliver that
birthday
on a bike or
cakes.
something?
Sorry?
What do you do? Deliver that on a bike or something?
No, in my car. So I was out delivering. But yeah, it's kind of took off over that period and it's been doing really well ever since. But I kind of discovered that about 3 years ago. It was actually my mum had bought me some baking classes as a present. And we both went along and I was quite good at the decorating. So I thought, do you know what? I'll give this a go. Why not?
And this is also reminds me of that story I told you guys about, the end credits of a film, which I constantly talk about to everybody until they finally start to quote me. But here you are, somebody who just enjoys baking,
Yeah.
who learned how to do it,
Yeah.
and then turned that into a career,
Yeah.
which is kind of like at the end credits where it's like, who's the baker on this film? meaning who's the caterer, who's in
Yeah.
charge of the food, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there you are.
And I think it's a good example as well as like I socially prescribe myself that because that is my
I love how you
therapy.
use that word.
Yeah, it really is. Though it's my therapy. That's how what I turn to. You know, if I'm stressed, if I'm angry, if I'm sad, that allows me to zone out and just focus on that task. And honestly, I feel amazing afterwards. And then I get to eat a load of cake. So you know.
Not only that, she started teaching it to like some of our,
Does a class.
she set a class up
Yeah.
and started teaching and delivering it as well.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah. So we ran a 3-week course out of Kirby in the Melling Thai barn, and it was really successful. They all loved it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can bring it back this year.
Fascinating. You know, these women have been fascinating to talk to. And I mean, especially Kathy, who is a film
Only because I
nut.
had 20 years on her.
Yeah.
No. See, look at that.
And she's an English teacher, so you know, I'm not amazing with my words.
See,
Sorry,
no,
I do.
she ain't doing me. No, she's a film nut, is what I was trying to say. Kathy's a film nut and everything. And as a film nut, you know, she decided to give me a film provocateur. 2 films that I should watch that I've never seen, you know, and I just thought I'd record it for posterity, you know, whenever I get around to it. Somebody Up There Likes Me with Paul Newman, and A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, which I only remember Bugs Bunny talking about that. So I like to think about it is, hopefully I will have, in my next time running into Kathy, I will have said, Kathy, hi.
Yeah.
Wow, you know, amazing. Of course, all the films I gave her, she's seen already. I don't know what that says about me or her.
Oh, I haven't seen it
Well,
yet.
she hasn't seen that, but nobody has. So either way you look at it, this is the end of our show. But either way, I would like to thank once again the lovely women from Care Merseyside. That's Kathy Donnelly. And
Kathy Connolly.
I knew I was going to get it wrong when I threw my paper over here.
God.
And I should have got Brittany's name wrong, but Kathy Connolly and Brittany O'Mahony
Yep.
and
Thank
everything.
you so
Oh,
much.
Chase, by the way, thank you so much. And Phil, it's been so lovely to meet both of you today, and thanks for having us here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and everything. And then hopefully, you know, as they say, hope springs eternal with new partnerships. You never know, right? So I'm your host, Chase Johnson Lynch. You've been watching the Liverpool Community Podcast. For now, we out of here.
Bye.